As I sit down to record this on Saturday evening, West Ham United are one win away from top four, Champions League football. Now, let me just mitigate that statement by saying that I don't think we'll qualify for the top four. I'm not saying now I don't actually think we're good enough. But I only say it to emphasise quite how much progress the club have made. I'd also like to just point out, I think it's one of those freaky seasons where final season at Upton Park, if you remember, when Leicester won the title. That was a bit of a weird season, wasn't it? This is in much the same way for so many reasons, COVID being the main one. That being said, within 12 months, we have gone from relegation fodder to being one of the better teams in the Premier League. And there's just so many reasons for it, far more than we could even get through in this video. Yet there's something about a gritty 1-0 win against Burnley that is somehow more impressive than 3 or 4-0 wins against Leicester or Wolves. You sometimes look at that, and certainly when they came along, I looked at those and thought, maybe this is a fluke, even though they were back-to-back games. This feels a lot more solid, namely because it's further down the line. We're at the halfway point of the season. We have 29 points. I think I started talking about a plus goal difference 6 or 7 games ago. We still have a plus goal difference. We're highly likely to retain a plus goal difference because we don't let in any goals. I'm sure that will change at some point. I'm sure a game will come along when we concede a goal or two. But we don't seem like the West Ham of old that are capable of shipping 5 or 6 goals. If you go back and look at some of our older previews on Hammers Chat, particularly when we'd come up against Manchester City, I think we were predicting 5 and 6-0s and scorelines like that. And we were right to, because we were on the end of a hiding on numerous occasions. We're not that team anymore. And in many respects, the team are bigger than the sum of their parts, which is exactly what I said about Burnley, funny enough. In many respects, the system is king at West Ham. And when I say the system, I don't mean the formation. I mean the system of being resolute, of being tough to break down, and of us actually being the nastier team sometimes when we face others. There's a few things in the game against Burnley that I want to point to. But one of them, if you cast your mind back to the game, Ogbonna had decided that he wanted to be Ogbonnaldinho. So he's down the wing, doing something, tricking past a player, deciding he's going to put a cross in. And at that point, Dawson was off the pitch. Dawson had a nosebleed, if you remember. So Dawson's off the pitch. Ogbonna's decided, as I say, that he's going to be a left winger and start jinxing his way past Lawton or whoever it was at the time. And we had no centre-backs. The cross wasn't totally successful. Burnley won the ball and they broke them. They broke on us. Souček had moved into centre-back, as a Declan Rice. And at this point, we got 10 men on the pitch. Not only did that happen, the ball actually came over. They hadn't attacked Burnley. And who headed it out? Well, Thomas Souček. Headed the ball out in the commanding style of a centre-half. And I thought, I like this. Now, there's a lot to admire about football in general. You know, strikers scoring wonder goals and flicks and tricks and all that stuff. But I really enjoyed that. That particular moment, I enjoyed that more than I ever thought I would. And it just goes to show that it was players buying into the team ethic at West Ham. And it's why you begin to understand that David Moyes wants to build the team, not just in his image, but in the image of what he wants to see on the pitch. That's why he's sort of getting rid of players. And as much as, let's say, Sebastian Haller had a number of people that would make excuses for him. And when I say excuses, I mean excuse in the actual correct definition of the word. Not a lie, but people that would make an excuse. That would say, well, the reason Sebastian Haller's not playing well is because of X, Y, and Z. He doesn't have a partner. We're not playing to his style. So on and so forth. All true. But it doesn't matter, because actually he didn't fit in what David Moyes wanted him to do. He didn't seem like he was there and he was fighting and he was battling, even though I'm sure he had a desire and he was trying in his own way. And that's why he'll go on and do well at Ajax. But you can understand why David Moyes wants players like that. A really good example is Jared Bowen, who I thought had a really, really good first half. But even when he's not playing well, he's getting back and he's helping his fullback out and just running, battling, scrapping. It's why El Fornicador, it's why the fornicator plays on the left. Just Moyes knows what he's getting out of him. And everybody buys into this team ethic, which you saw in that instance when we had one centre-back off the pitch, and one of them thinking he was Cristiano Ronaldo. The rest of the team just got it together, moved into, took positions up. Not only took those positions up, actually defended well. And then I look at the whole ethos of everything. It's something I've mentioned before, and since I noticed it way back, I'm watching it more and more. So if ever there's an option on the telly to listen without the crowd noise, the artificial crowd noise that's pumped in, I go for that option. And I actually found it as on Amazon. You actually got into the menu. It's quite hard to find, but it is there. I could hear him again. He does not stop, Kevin Nolan. Does not stop barking orders and encouragement. And the odd rollicking. David Moyes, very, very vocal. Stuart Pearce keeps running down the steps, shouting a load of stuff and running back up the steps. I don't know what he's shouting. I can hear his voice though. And how this will help us if and when there are crowds back in the stadium, I don't know. But at the moment, we are the loudest team, I think, in every game we play. And that's an absolutely wonderful thing to behold, because then you look on the pitch and you look at someone like Dawson, and there he is again. Talk. Constant instruction to everybody on the pitch, including Ogbonna, who's not a quiet man himself. Declan Rice has got an awful lot to say on that football pitch as well. And you look at it and you think, well, Souček, as I understand it, is captain for the Czech Republic. We've got an awful lot of leaders on that pitch. Is Mikel Antonio a captain? Is he a leader? No, but I tell you what, he's not lead by example. He really does show in his ability to chase down a lost cause, to battle a centre-half, whatever he does, that he is willing, absolutely willing, to fight 100% for every single ball. And it just fits in with the team ethic and the team spirit. And when you put that together with something like Paul Nevin, who you'll always see, he's right there next to Moyes the whole time, with his pen and his earpiece and his little tactics book. Much like the Book of Truth. Although, I don't think he has a pen of destiny. But anyway. You always look at it and you know he's got a tactical plan up his sleeve. And when we did that set piece where Declan Rice came forward and he flicked it up and Ogbonna, it hit the post, didn't it? I think Ben Mee might have got a little touch in it, whatever. It was a good set play. And we look at it and we can only do that. You can only do that once. Well, I think we've said that 4 times this season already. You can only do that once. You can only do that particular set piece once. But after a while, it turns out actually we've got at least 4 or 5 variations of a set piece. Well, then you can do it more than once because you can't plan for every single eventuality. It's not like we have one set play. And this guy's innovative. There'll always be something else as well. And there's so much to admire about West Ham and about the way we play and about what the backroom team are doing and about the collection of players. I just think it's absolutely wonderful at the moment. And when I looked at that, league table, and look, not everyone has played the same amount of games, granted. But you know what? I don't want to sort of temper my excitement just because one team's played 18 games and another team's played 17 or whatever. There's also an awful lot of teams that have played 18 games. I'll give you a team that's played 18 games. Arsenal. Got 24 points. We've got 29. Now, I'm not even suggesting that we're going to finish above Arsenal. But Arsenal are not going to find it easy to overhaul a club like West Ham because we don't lose many. Very few. What are we on? 1 in the last 5. Before that, wouldn't have been much more like that. We do very, very well. And that's because we're solid. It's because what Moyes has put into it is a rigid structure. And I look at the players and they look happy. And not at any point during that... Actually, I'll tell a lie. I was going to say not at any point during that game did I worry that that Burnley might score. There was a point where McNeil got down the left. He hung a cross up and it had Fabianski flapping. Fabianski had become Flappyansky at that point. That was it. It wasn't much. And put into the context of how well West Ham had played up to that point, the fact that Yarmolenko should have squared the ball. Jared Bowen should have put Ben Rama in earlier. Certainly, Ogbonna might have felt that he could have done better. Fornals himself may well have done better. And I think Ben Rama had a good opportunity to play a ball in, but decided to do one extra dribble, although Ben Rama was good. I thought possibly Ben Rama's best game, actually. My point being, whilst we might look at Burnley, I think Burnley might have scored a goal. West Ham could have scored 4 or 5. The better team won. There was no rough justice there. And even a team like Burnley won't be looking forwards to playing West Ham again. There are just easier nuts to crack than West Ham. And we do, whilst we're not the most flamboyant team in the world, we do have a number of ways to score. And there was a point in that game where our corners were good and we were putting in crosses and it would have been a pain in the bum. And players like Chris Wood, who are effective against a lot of other teams, weren't particularly effective against us. I thought Dawson and Ogbonna handled them well. Which brings me to my final point, which is I don't feel that me and Tarkowski handled Antonio particularly well. I think he roughed them up a bit. And actually, I felt a few of our players were taking it in turns to rough them up a bit as well, which is nothing they haven't done to us in the past, as I mentioned on the review, of course. However, when you look at it and you look at that partnership that's starting to form between Ogbonna and Dawson, there's a lot of promise here. I say promise. I'm aware that that one of them's 30 or 31. One of them's even older than that. So it's not going to be a centre half pairing for the next 5 years. But that doesn't matter. A centre back pairing that can see you through a season or two is still a good centre back pairing. Make no mistake about it. We're tough to break down and we're tough to beat. And when you look at what's happened in terms of the finances, that we didn't have any money for a player. So we sold Grady Diangana to bring a player in. The player we were looking to bring in most of the window was a centre-half. And that centre-half was James Tarkowski, who we saw against Burnley, who looks a decent player, don't get me wrong. But something happened within that. Something happened that made David Moyes change his mind. Do I think that David Sullivan can buy a player for David Moyes? Yes. But do I think David Sullivan would buy a centre-half if David Moyes wanted a winger and vice versa? Do I think David Moyes wanted a centre-half, then Sullivan said, "You're not having a centre-half, I'm getting you a left winger"? No. I don't believe he would do that. I believe at some point David Moyes said, actually, I think we don't need a centre-half. So actually, let's bring in the additional attacking player, wide player, whatever it may have been. And you have to say that was a really, really good choice. But something happened. It might have been Balbuena. It might have been because he started coming into a bit more form. It might have been the fact that he knew he was going to get somebody like Dawson. But this is my point, which is the system is king. Because I think that's why Balbuena looks good in that system. That's why Dawson looks good in that system. Somebody said something to me when I did the Dawson video when I was walking around in the park. They said anybody would look good in that system when you've got a system like that and two players in Souček and Declan Rice protecting the back four. But it was sort of almost said with a negative connotation. I felt anyway that, you know, don't praise Dawson that much. He's playing within a system, and I didn't find it negative. I thought good, because it means actually if Masuaku's out, it is fine. It means Aaron Cresswell within that system can play at left back or he can play at left centre back if the formation has changed. As I say, there's a difference between formation and system. The system is defensive, soak up the pressure. But I do like that, and I like the way Dawson has slotted in there, and I like the way those two have done it. And here's my point on the Dawson thing, is that it allowed us, the system allowed us not to buy James Tarkowski. That system allowed us to actually go and think, okay, well, we've got that 25 million or whatever we might have had to spend on him. We're not going to spend that. We're not going to use that. We're now going to buy another attacking player. And actually, when you look at it, it's really good. Because I ask you now, because this is how it seems the choice is for me, would you rather not have Ben Rama and Dawson, but have had James Tarkowski instead? Or would you prefer to not have James Tarkowski, but have Ben Rama and Dawson? It's a rhetorical question in many respects, because I think the answer is you'd rather have Ben Rama and Dawson. Because, let's be fair, even if Tarkowski had come in, you can't concede any less than no goals. And that's what we're doing at the moment.